Aloha kakahiaka Olowalu. Thank you folks for welcoming us or allowing us to be in your place today. We would like to start. Oh, sorry, my name is Rick Bisson, and I work for the county. I work for you guys. I'd like to ask our Kumu Pueopata if he would please come forward and start us with an opening pule. So, thank you. You can remain seated.
Aloha. Thank you, Mayor Bisson, for asking me to do this. It was my understanding that I'm not maha'oi. Somebody had deferred the pule, and so then I was, I guess, next in line. But it's an honor to be here in this beautiful place of Olowalu, here on the lai of Hekili, underneath your beautiful mountain Lihau, Wailuku Kalani, whose father through these mo'olelo are said to be Kilea, your famous hill, the petroglyphs, and the mother, the spring Punahoa. In the morning time, it's so beautiful. I know that your resident wind, Kamakani Wawahi Hale, gets pretty rough through here. Wawahi Hale means to destroy homes, push down houses, and I've been here when that's been blowing, so I prepared this morning with a lot of hairspray. Just in case. But yeah, at this time, a prayer of unity, it's one that we use in hula. On the island of Kauai, there's a pathway called Alanui Kuilima Kanaka o Maunahina, where the path is so narrow that everybody joins hands to walk on this precipitous path, so that if one person falls, the people in line can catch them, and it's not an individual losing their life, but the entire band of people holding each other up. So I hope that that's appropriate for this morning, but he puleka ino ke ia. E mabudanu oralaua e mabuno I da balio e ialo hailo haide da bahuti balai da hulilole iu da uala ino e vale de ala nui guili makanaka o mauna ina e ina hoka hila hoi o auale no he hano hoi e hina pui hono ta wei te ala nui a hali liala e mai no da le hua mara no e da le hua mara no e vivo ole te anu me ui te ala di baba ola e ola e ola e mahalo.
That's the way to start a Saturday morning, everybody. That and malasadas and coffee, yeah? How's that? So we're going to have several speakers today, try to address some of the questions, issues. So you folks know we're facing a lot of challenges here at the county. One of those specific areas is the debris cleanup and disposal. So that's what we're going to focus on today, or anything else you folks want to ask or talk about. This is your time. We've asked some of these experts in our fields from the federal government, the state, and our county folks to come forward and, again, hopefully answer your questions. If we're not able to get that to you today, we will get back to you with that. But that's our goal for today. So, again, thank you for taking the time. I also wanted to apologize that we had to move the date from last week. But with the weather conditions the way they were, it was decided that it was too risky to try to gather at that day and that time. So kind of went with that mana'o and decided to come back today. And so thank you guys for coming on your Saturday morning. Mahina? So this is Mahina Martin. She's the Director of Communications and Public Affairs at the county. And so I'll turn it over to her. Thank you.
Sorry, I'm much shorter. And aloha, thank you again for letting us take some time to reset. As I said earlier, thanks to your Joe Pluta of West Maui. He reminded us to go in the shade. So we took the time to move everything here. Just to tell you how we're going to do this today, we're going to be inviting up Shane Agawa. He's the Director of Environmental Management to share a little bit about what the proposed project is. We assembled this amazing team. We brought everybody we could so that we didn't have to ask, if you ask a question, we're not going to have to say often, we'll get back to you. So we brought as much of our folks from the federal agencies, from our local agencies, and they'll introduce themselves a little later or just before the Q&A, the question and answer period. And you can ask, just as Mayor said, you can ask any question related to this or just something about Olowalu that we can help with, that our county folks and our federal partners here and our state partner can help us. Originally, we had wanted to do a PowerPoint at the evening, the original meeting date. Today, we're in the sunshine, so we have a different version of a PowerPoint. So if you bear with us, this is how we're going to be using the pictures. We'll put them up afterwards, so they'll be up anyway later on after the meeting. I did want to tell you that typically our county community meetings, we film and broadcast live. This one we decided not to. We thought it would be a better way to talk story and be here with, Olowalu, with all of you before we start broadcasting to the world. However, we are recording the meeting. That way we can, if you signed up and we can read your email, your address, and your handwriting, then we'll send you a link to the video so that you can share it out if you want, and you can also review it if you want. So the key to that is just make sure that we can read your email, and you'll get that in the next week. So that will help a little bit. We may want to use it later, but that is not our intention today, not to do it as a live filming. If you're unfamiliar with this place, but I think all of you are, but I see some guests here, the restroom is on the other side of the building. There's a little hale attached to the main building. At this time, I'm going to turn this over to Shane Agawa. He's going to do a presentation, and we're going to take some whatever questions you have about the project, and we'll have our folks here. We have from the Army Corps of Engineers. They have their representatives here, as well as, I got to look at them. We have EPA. We have the state DLNR, Department of Land and Natural Resources, and we also have our county team from Environmental Management, Division Head Mike Quijano, as well as Engineer Sage. Sage, I'm going to slaughter your last name. Kiyonaga. Oh, Kiyonaga. I didn't want to say it incorrectly. So I'm going to turn this over to Shane. Look, I made up Shane and Sage, and I connected them together and called them Shage. Okay, I'm going to go get some coffee while I turn this over to Shane Agawa. And I do want to say that Shane, of course, he will introduce himself. And we're very, very proud that we ourselves have ohana who work within the county that are part of Lahaina, part of West Maui, and here today among you from Olowalu. Shane?
Morning, everybody. I can just start off by saying, first myself is Shane Agawa, as I was mentioned, Director of Environmental Management. My style is more of just a talk story kind of session, not real official. So anyway, we're here to talk about the Lahaina Wildfire Disposition Project that we're working on. As we all know, August 8th happened, and it was determined that there is about 400,000 tons of debris from that fire that's laying out there in the Lahaina right now. The way I look at it is we all know somebody that lives in Lahaina. We either related to them, friends with them, grew up with them. And for public health and safety, for their safety, our friends, our family, we need to get that debris into a contained, safe site. I gotta say, Mother Nature has been very gracious to us so far. It has been a concern that when the big rains come, what's gonna happen? We all gotta think about that. We're kind of disconnected a little bit living in Olowalu. I live right down the road. I know a lot of you, a lot of familiar faces, but we're still part of West Maui. Our friends and family, like I said, in West Maui, they're suffering. They want to rebuild. They want to get back. So to that, we did need to look at a place to put this debris. We looked at all different places all over the island. In the early onset, we did entertain the idea of shipping the debris off island. However, for various reasons, that was not going to be able to happen. The main reason was that we got denied by FEMA. The other reason is we started to hear and from the community that lost loved ones, that the remains are in that ash. It's not only in the footprint with the winds, it's mixed with all the different debris, the one in the road. The other thing that we didn't realize early on that we realize now is there were a lot of churches that had ash in urns and that type of thing that were destroyed in the fire. So even the ash of past people, families and friends, not just from the disaster, is all commingled in that debris. And the message we got from the Lahaina community was they wanted to keep it, one, intact, two, close to Lahaina, and they don't want it mixed with trash. So the other option that we looked at was having it taken to Central Maui landfill. However, for those of you that do not know, we do have airspace issues at Central Maui landfill. The volume there is growing faster than we expected. So if the debris from Lahaina were to go to Central Maui, it will need to be commingled with municipal solid waste. So getting back to this debris site, I'll give you a brief overview. I have some slides to show you some pictures. First of all, there's different phases of the project in debris removal. I'm sure you guys heard of this already. So phase 1 is the removal of hazardous materials, which EPA is, I think, on the tail end of that. So most of the hazard materials from the debris site has been taken to a staging area at Ukumehame and being shipped off island. Now, part of phase 2 is the actual debris removal, which comes under Army Corps. So under phase 2, there's what they call, I believe, phase 1A. So this is actually doing a site assessment again and catching any other hazardous material that are on property that EPA didn't get through, whether it's something falling over and they couldn't see it. So further hazardous waste is going to be taken off island. That's going to be shipped off island. Yeah, I hope all of you can see this. It's not that high. But this, first of all, we did also have a disaster and a fire up in Kula. So this is just to show you that the Kula and Olinda debris is currently going to Central Maui landfill. Now that did not have HR or human remains. There were no fatalities in that fire. Lahaina debris, we're looking at this West Maui site in Olowalu. It's located next to our closed landfill. We have a current transfer station that's in operation that the trash is hauled to Central Maui. The closed landfill is on the I want to say the Lahaina town side, and this location will be on the northern side. So as I mentioned, if you can look at this map, let me go back a little bit. The land that we're looking at is actually state-owned property. And thanks to Daniel Ornelas and his team and the state, they were gracious enough to work with us, and they understood the need of a place that could accept this Lahaina debris. So as you folks know, I think on October 27 was the BLNR meeting. So that meeting was basically for the transfer of the rights to use state property for county use. And that's what you see here is the TMK. It's about 53 acres or so. That's the whole parcel that the state transferred over to us. That's still pending council approval. Now what you see here in the green, that is called a temporary debris storage site, a TDS site. That is going to be designed, constructed, and operated by the Army Corps and their contractor. Again, the key word is temporary. It's going to be a place that debris coming from Lahaina will be stored. It'll be lined. And then later, this blue area is actually our project, a county project, a proposed project for the final disposition site for the debris. Again, this is the old closed dump. This here is an active cinder pit. It has been mined up until, I believe, maybe a week or so ago from Hawaiian Cement. This is the access road, or I cannot see, but there's the access road off of the highway, and the transfer station is here. So this area right here is about 14 plus or minus acres. This will be the proposed final disposition site of the debris. This area here, I believe, is about 9 acres. This is temporary and will no longer be there. This is only to hold the debris temporarily while this is being constructed, and then the debris will be moved from the green to the blue. This will go away, and then this will be the final site. Okay, little bit complicated, but this is a cutaway portion. So if you imagine this disposal site as like a bowl, right? It's a hole in the ground. It's been mined for the cinder. If you cut that bowl in half and you look at it at the side, This is what we're proposing to construct out there. This is a double liner system. When we say liner, it's a HDPE material. It's a black heavy gauge plastic, which you see here. These green circles, it's a drainage and monitoring system for leachate. What leachate is a liquid byproduct that comes from debris, trash, whatnot. It's common at municipal solid waste sites because of the debris breaking down. However, in this location, the composition of the debris that we expect to come in is very dry. It's ash. A little bit of soil tack on it, a little bit of water for dust control, but it's fairly dry material. There's not going to be any larger pieces. The steel, the concrete, if you go out there, that's basically the two materials that are left out there. Those will be all repurposed, or as much as possible be recycled. So the majority of the debris that's coming into will be ash and smaller particles. When I say double liner, most standard waste disposal sites have a single liner. We are designing this to have a double liner, so dual redundant HDPE liner, dual redundant monitoring and leachate system. The sides are at a slope that is workable to be constructed. I believe it's going to be 1-to-1. And again, sorry, I'm not the expert on this, and we have the experts to answer a lot of your questions later. Right here under the double liner, this gray area, it's called low permeability soil. It has to be a special type of soil per federal regulations. It's a clay type of soil that is pretty resistant to percolation. So it's just another barrier to stop any leachate from getting through. As I said, there's monitoring as well. So here, this yellow thing here is a gas monitoring well. We also have to monitor the groundwater. So here in this blue line, it's a groundwater monitoring. And the groundwater monitoring basically is a well that we drill upstream, downstream of the groundwater flow. So we know the composition of the water coming into the site, and we know any composition coming out of the site. That's our way of seeing if there's anything from the site that has entered into the groundwater system. Now this last slide is basically an explanation of how the ash is transported, how it's handled. It's not just taking the ash with big equipment and then scooping it into a truck and then hauling it out here. We're doing everything with respect to environmental safety, public health and safety. So one of the major concerns was the ash flying out of the truck. So we call it a burrito wrap type of system. What they do is they line the trucks up. You can see here, might be hard to see, with a plastic sheeting. It's like a, let's say, a square tortilla. The debris is put into the truck. After the debris is there, it's folded up. It's sealed with an adhesive so particles cannot get out. A final tarp is then put over, and then the truck is hauled out to the site. Constant water misting of the site, either by a mister like that or somebody with a hose. And then these are air quality monitoring stations. This is a stationary station. I've seen this in Kula with my own eyes. This is a handheld. So for the safety of the workers in the community, these air quality monitors will be placed around the perimeter of the site. All the workers that's in the footprint of the work area will have an air quality monitor on them. So if any alarms goes off, it gives an indication that the air may not be safe because of wind direction or what. The public will be notified at that time as well. And just a couple other things that we thought about when we were looking at this site. So 400,000 tons of debris in Lahaina is tens of thousands of truckloads. Having it go into central Maui, concerns about people getting hurt, accidents. If a truck hits anything on the way, the debris spills out, pollutes the ocean. The whale season is coming up. You're gonna have a lot of people parking on the side on the poly, crossing over. Those are just some of the additional concerns that we looked at. We did do a lot of due diligence to find a proper site that we feel is the most safe and the most environmentally friendly and appeals to the need of the Lahaina community. So again, as Mahina said, we have a team of experts that can help with your questions if you have any. I'll hand it over to Mahina to moderate the Q&A section, and then at the end, we'll have the boards up here. So if you have any questions, we can just do a talk story session and talk about, you can point on the board, what is this, what is that, can you explain this type of thing. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Shane. And for those of you who arrived a little later, again, earlier we were saying normally our community meetings, we either Facebook Live or we videotape and share it with everyone, just so everybody knows what goes on if you missed it. This one, because out of respect for the folks from Olowalu, we thought we would just have the conversation and a talk story. But we are filming, and if you signed in and we can read your email address, your handwriting, we'll send you a link to the video, so you can look at it again, or you can share it out if you want. It may become publicly available later, but we wanted to give you the chance first to do that. So at this time, normally we would have a second mic, but because we moved everything over, it got a little discombobulated. But what we like to do, because we have brought all of our team here, is be available for any questions. And if what we'd ask is if you just raise your hand, I'm going to repeat the question just so that it's recorded, and later on you can remember what that was, and then we'll ask the appropriate resource person to help with that question. So at this time, does anyone else have? Oh, Mayor? Sure.
Sorry, I just wanted to address a couple of things that occurred to me while Shane was presenting. And that first is, what happens if we don't do this? If we don't do this, then Mother Nature will decide for us where all the ash in Lahaina goes. Whether it goes to our drains, our sewers, our ocean. So we are at there's a sense of urgency that I wanted to get across to all of us here and those that we've been talking to already. As Shane said, we've mostly been lucky that the winds and the rains have not decided this for us already. So if we intervene and put it someplace where we can control, that's our best option for our island. You also heard Shane talk about some debris that is being removed. Those that were considered the toxic and hazards, these were lithium batteries, these were other items that were still remnants from the fire. The EPA is required to take that off island. And any location that this would have happened at, in the mainland or anywhere else, they would have had to remove that, and they have storage facilities for that. The second phase, where we're at now, where it's the ash and debris, we're responsible for disposing of that, the municipality, the county. I suppose we could say the state, but it mostly falls on the county. The Kula situation, we were cleared by the Department of Health and EPA to use our landfill there. We didn't have some of the issues that Shane already brought up to you that is different for Lahaina. That area is taking up space we would have normally used for our our trash and our normal solid waste disposal. But again, we don't have an option. The other thing was to drive it from there to Olowalu, which is the same issues we have taken it in the other direction, except in reverse. It's 25 miles versus 3 miles or 5 miles out. So the risk is less. The speed with which we can do this is quicker. The volume that can be done. And again, the difference is the type of landfill or disposal site. I won't call this a landfill because it's not a landfill. This is not a landfill. This is a final resting place for some folks. But in this issue, we have exceeded the requirements that is being done up in Central Maui. I don't know if somebody's going to speak to that. Was it subtitle C, D? Is it a C and a D? So C is the greater one? Okay. So subtitle D, for those of you who are maybe engineers or know this stuff, is the typical landfill situation that you would have if you were putting certain debris. We have decided in a very spirited discussion at my office that this will be a C, a Class C level of debris, which is the highest it can be made. It's the safest or the highest standard you can make something to. So no matter what's in the debris, it qualifies for this level of disposal site. So I just wanted to emphasize that because I'm sure everybody else can give you more of the X's and the O's, but those are a couple of things that occurred to me. And feel free to ask us all your good questions.
Thank you, Mayor. At this time, just so I can write, can we help with any questions related to this project? And I'm just going to ask you to, and again, we're going to be here for a while, even after the meeting, so we're not rushing you. In the back, and I'm sorry, you're going to have to kind of shout it, or you can come up here and use the mic. Yeah, absolutely. Then that way you're not testing my hearing. And I do want to say we also have Josh Akinde. He's the deputy of our Maui Emergency Management Agency. He's hovering in the back, closer to the coffee, not willing to be up here, but no, I'm just kidding. Please, sir.
Okay, my name's Craig Robertson. I came late, so I might have missed some of it. But assuming, man, this is short. Okay. I didn't hear if it's going to be maintained privately or through the county itself. In regards to the system, the alarms and the sensors, is there who's going to be maintaining that?
Yeah, I did not mention this earlier, but that's a very good question. So the question was, who's going to be maintaining this system after the closure? So in that BLNR meeting, some of you may have been tracking that. One of the comments that were made was, oh, the county is going to maintain and monitor this for 30 years. What happens on year 31? Do we walk away, turn our backs, and leave it there? The answer is no. For 30 years, that is a regulation from DOH on the County of Maui to monitor a closed landfill. Once we cap any landfill, not a debris site like this, any debris site, we are, by regulation of DOH, required to monitor this closed landfill, closed debris containment site for 30 years. On year 31, we don't turn our back and walk away. We continue to monitor these sites for in perpetuity, longer than all of us are going to be here. So that was kind of a misconception. So to answer your question, the county will be the one to monitor, to maintain. When I say maintain, there is going to be a cap to keep rainwater off of this debris so that it doesn't percolate through. The water will be shed. We have a system to collect storm water. Vegetation, we maintain that as well. Any type of erosion before the grass grows, a lot of time it rains, you see little cracks in the dirt, we maintain all of that. We maintain that for 30 years and more in perpetuity. So I hope that answers your question.
And just a follow up to that. So I think from my perspective, what you're describing as water quality and checking the gas being the most important thing, maybe a certain amount of transparency, assuming the sensors are hooked up server based, that you create a read only site for the public just to constantly monitor the sensors, just transparency, so if something does happen they can know and keep them in the loop.
Yeah, great question. So the question was about transparency on these monitoring and the data. Maybe somebody can answer a little bit better, but to my knowledge, the monitoring data that we get for groundwater, air quality will be put and posted on the mauirecovers.org website. I believe the interim between testing and data collecting is about quarterly. If we get any hits, we shorten that time. So more hits, shorten time, we gather more data, we do our mitigation measures to implement that, but that will be shared on the mauirecovers.org, I believe.
Yes, and the question, if you didn't hear, was it manual monitoring, and it is. Any other questions that we can help with? You can come up, please. Okay, you can tell me.
Why Olowalu if not something closer to
Okay, so the question is why Olowalu and not in Lahaina or something closer to Lahaina? We have looked at many sites. I'm going to ask either they're over there Junket and Poing. Yeah, they might have to tag team and do their best. But we have from DLNR, Department of Land and Natural Resource, Daniel Ornelas, as well as John Smith, who's a Highways Division Chief from Public Works for the County of Maui. Between them, they can share a little bit of what we do know. It takes two of them to answer that hard question, so that's good.
Aloha, my name is Daniel Ornelas. I'm the District Land Agent for the State Department of Land and Natural Resources, Maui District Land Office. So we were asked, and we are responsible for government lands, where could this make sense? And that's few and far between. One option was to look at areas in an old cinder pit, just Mauka, in the Kahoma region of Lahaina. Little too small, little too close to existing residential areas. Another parcel that came up was the one at Olowalu, and that's pretty much all we have in West Maui. There is no other, in my opinion, suitable area that could receive that volume of debris. I think everybody is open to discussion and looking at options. People have thrown out other islands as an example. But we're not there yet, and I think we've all agreed that Olowalu is our best option at this point in time. That's the best way I can deal with that one.
Thank you, Daniel. Do you have anything to add, John? Okay, ditto. Is that your answer? Okay, ditto. You have a question? Okay, come on up.
Thank you. Thank you for having this meeting. My name's Laura Petal. I'm up Luavi Street above here. Three-part question. First, timeline. You said you have a lot to transport, and we've been lucky so far with Mother Nature. So how long do you predict that it will take, or estimate to take, to move everything over to the proposed site, decided site actually? Second part of that question is, can you speak some more about the temporary site versus the permanent site? Because if you burrito wrap it in Lahaina to move it, and then it sits for a while, and then you have to pick it up and move it again, do you have to rewrap it? Is it going to break? How do you do that? So if you could speak to us a little bit more about that and the timeline that goes with that. And then the third part of that question with the transfer is I'm from Canada, so we have rules and collective agreements with people about inclement weather, usually related to the cold. So here you're going to have inclement weather with the wind. Will there be some parameters set that will be, this is an inclement weather day, we are not working today, like we moved the meeting? So if you could speak to those three things, thank you.
Thank you. Dr. Kroger from the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers. And you hear us use a lot of acronyms, but there you go. You say.
Thank you. Good morning. Yeah, my name's Corey. I'm going to have to try to remember all those questions. So first, a little bit about the temporary debris site. We're using the same liner that's going to be used in the permanent site. It's an 80 mil liner, but it's not going to be double line. We're going to have cover over the burrito wrap bags that go in there so that if they do break, and they will break down over time, there's not ash getting up. And if our air sensors go off, then we will apply wet methods to make sure that the ash is staying in the landfill or the temporary debris site. Secondly, yes, we have wind built into the safety plan from our contractors. If it's too windy to haul debris safely, then we have shutdown mechanisms and we'll do other work, if that answers that question. So what was the timeline? The hard one. So on Monday, Maui County Council is voting to get the right of entry for both of the parcels, one for the temporary debris site and one for the permanent disposal site. Once that occurs, and the Army Corps has an agreement in place with Maui County, we will construct that temporary debris site. It's going to take us about 35 days. So we're anticipating starting first part of January or mid-January if that agreement is in place. Once we have that agreement, we can start doing debris removal from Lahaina. We're looking at about 6 months to a year, depending on how difficult the debris removal is. So for this particular event, FEMA also included public as well as commercial parcels. And in Lahaina, there's some significant standing structures that are still up there. So that's going to be the most difficult part. Those are eligible for this event. That's why this is going to take a little bit longer than we normally would. The second part of that is the cultural sensitivity. So during the entire debris removal process, we'll have cultural monitors on site. We might even have archaeologists on site, depending on what's been identified on that property. And that's going to take a little time to work through. So we're looking at about 6 months to a year.
Corey, you asked about rewrapping the
Oh, sure. And so yes, those we're basically going to handle the debris from the temporary debris site to the final disposal site in the exact same way. We're going to line trucks, burrito wrap it, and transport it about 100 yards.
Sage, can you explain the liner? Can you come explain the liner? We're passing around a sample of the liner. I'm going to call up our engineer Sage to explain what it is. So when you get it, you know what we're showing you.
Thank you, Mahina. Hi, my name is Sage Kiyonaga. I am your County of Maui solid waste civil engineer. So what I'm circulating right now is just a strip of 80 mil HDPE plastic liner. So you're gonna see in there, it was used as part of a destructive testing. So, you know, it's actually part of a pull test. But there's a little, if you look at it really well, there's a small little air gap in there. Part of the installation for this liner system is it gets welded together, and there's a small air gap in there. So you pressurize that air gap to make sure the welds are completely sealed. So it's just being circulated around right now. You guys can take a look at it, and I can explain a little bit more after the meeting. Thank you.
So that's what's circulating. And you can ask him for far more details after the meeting once you get to look at that. Can we help with another question from the audience or from all of you from Olowalu? Here come. So NT's question is, Sage, can they double that wrap for extra assurance?
Absolutely, good question. So the question was if we can double this up. So, you know, pursuant to what Mayor Bisson wanted, we're gonna have complete secondary protection. So you're gonna have a complete HDPE liner that's going around right now, and underneath that, like Director Agawa had mentioned, there's going to be low permeability soil under the HDPE liner, and then another complete HDPE liner underneath that with more of this low permeability soil underneath that second liner. It's a little bit flexible, but it's a lot stiffer. So that piece was used in a destructive test. So really it's the stiffer part that's intact what this material is going to look like.
Okay, I see a hand up. I'm going to go to right there, and then Joe. Come. Do you want to use a mic? The question is, what is the life expectancy of the 80 mil that's going around right now? Would that be you, Sage? Okay.
That is a good question. What is the life expectancy of an HDPE plastic liner? It all depends on the type of chemicals that you put on top of it. HDPE is industry standard for this type of disposal unit. It has good chemical resistance, it's strong, it's pretty durable. Normally, just during like natural degradation of HDPE, it takes hundreds of years for HDPE to break down, a couple hundred years. You might have mechanical failures due to breaking seams or other issues that may arise, but normal degradation for HDPE, it'll take a few hundred years to break down.
Okay, don't go too far then, since you're popular. We'll go to right there in the third row, followed by Joe, and then followed by the second row. Go ahead. Do you want to come up? Okay. Okay. Okay, so the question is, because this is such an unprecedented event that happened, where in the world or country has this ever been faced, and what was done in those instances? And Greek, I'll let Corey answer.
It's a great question. The Corps has been responding to wildfires since 2017, the previous Northern California wildfires. We've also responded since then to 8 other fires throughout Oregon, New Mexico, Colorado, and California. So what you are seeing is the state of the art that we've learned over all of those fires. So we're applying methods that the state of California developed, and they do this every year. In fact, the state of California was here assisting the state of Hawaii as well as Maui County to develop the alternate debris program, which is if you opt out of the federal program, you can do the cleanup on your own. So you're basically seeing every good work practice that we've developed over the past 6 or 7 years across the nation. And unfortunately, this is a Western activity so far. The farthest east we've gone is New Mexico.
Thank you. And then Joe, and then back to the second row. Joe?
Same gentleman over there.
Okay.
I lost my home and everything, and I got the county I signed up for the program for debris removal. You just stated that you don't do it, you can do it on your own?
For the right of entry. We will tell you though, hopefully, I know for Olowalu folks, you are not affected by right of entry, but Joe here has a question. So right of entry allows us to do the debris, and I'll let Army Corps answer, but if you do it on your own, there are some limitations that you will face as well. So.
Yeah, so there's 2 options. I don't think we have the slide for that, but it's up on MauiRecover.org, MauiRecovers.org. So the one option is to sign a right of entry, which means the Army Corps will come in and complete phase 2 debris removal. The other option is to enter into an agreement with Maui County to do that through local contractors. So there's a couple of things to that. You have to meet the same standards that the Army Corps has to meet. So you'd have to hire asbestos consultants, soil sampling consultants, arborists to look at the trees, and then it has to be done under all the methods that we've just talked about. So, yeah. Right, and for whatever reason that's not working out and they want to opt in later, if they do that before the deadline, which hasn't been established yet, then they can enter the program.
And if you do it with the right of entry through the Army Corps of Engineer program, it is free. If not, you pay your own contractors, the consultants, and the subcontractors. That's the big difference. You can use your own insurance money that way, or have government pay for it through debris.
Yes, Joe, you're correct. If you have a rider on your insurance policy that talks about this kind of an activity happening, and not a lot of people have that on their riders, but some people do, you have to take that portion of your insurance and pay it either to the county or the Corps of Engineers as part of your as part of them doing your cleanup for you. If you choose not to do the right of entry through the Corps of Engineers, that you have that amount of money available to use to do private. And that's what some people can choose to do. In Kula, we have 26 homes. I think we had 22 right of entries that were signed. I'm not sure if the other 4 have come along yet. It really depends on the amount of damage that I guess happened. But you can't just put this in your hefty trash bag and leave it on the road for somebody to pick up. It's totally what you just said, the same exact standard you have to follow to get it to the debris site. So yes, so it's not completely free if you already have it in your insurance. You do have to give that over as you would if you did it on your own. But that's the only cost. And then of course you don't have the headache of having to do it yourself. But I know not too many people here had the question, the right of entry, but since you did, Joe, I wanted to clear that up.
Thank you, Joe. Sir, do you want to come? Here. Oh, good. Thank you for using the mic.
You guys want to move in the shade? You can move your chairs in the back or to the side. But you notice all the expert guys, they all get the shade. They came early.
My name is Clyde Rodriguez, Olowalu resident. Somebody answered the question about using geosynthetic liners. You know, I'm no expert, but I kind of Googled some data from EPA, and recent studies are coming out from the University of Missouri that those liners are only lasting in 27 years. And those geosynthetic liners, that's the HD something liners. So, you know, the data is not correct that's being mentioned. Anyway, the question is, couple questions for Mr. Ornelas. Is that area considered state conservation land? It's just a no. That'll be fine. No, that's not the case. Okay. Because the reason I brought that up is because years ago when they were trying to increase or put landfills in the county of Nanakuli, those residents experienced landfill in their own backyard for many years. And they fought it, and the state legislature created a bill that stopped any kind of landfill in conservation areas. So he answered my question. But it didn't stop the residents of Nanakuli of complaining, why is our neighborhood being stuck with landfill over all these years? So Olowalu had a landfill for decades. And now they want to put another landfill or disposal site here again? Man, the Olowalu got to fight like the Nanakuli residents. We got to fight and stop this. And it's so close to our precious reefs. The second question is maybe on solid waste experts saying, oh, we're doing all these things to mitigate everything. Oh, we got this double geo liner. That'll last 50, 100 years, but recent studies are coming out, it doesn't last. Then you got these monitoring systems that check. Oh, we're going to check maybe once a year. In the meantime, when it leaks into the system and comes to the reef, it's too late. It's going to destroy our reef, destroy our aquifer. Look at Red Hill on Oahu. How that was so close to damaging Oahu's precious aquifer system. With all the precious monitoring systems that was being done, it never worked. So I'm pretty much concerned. And recent EPA standards, there were like something like 53 toxic chemicals that was on file. That EPA standards are years old. Now there's something like 500 chemicals in the landfills. An example might be that fire retardant. That's something new, but it's going to go in this landfill. That's dangerous stuff. So anyway, the question was, Mr. Ornelas, I was just concerned if it was a conservation area, then Senate Bill 23 something does not allow landfills in conservation areas. And that bill was created as a result of the residents of the Nanakuli that was concerned about always being the location for landfills. And what they found out is that people who live near disposal sites has a higher proximity of getting cancer, birth defects, and asthma. So we're just concerned about it. So maybe somebody can say, oh, we promise that with all the expert design of the system, that it's not going to leak into our reef system, it's not going to leak into our aquifer system. That is what I'm concerned about. And there's always and recent studies have shown that you can use the best liner, but the problem is during construction and installation of the liners, that's where there's some holes in the liners that the contractors do. So they'll cover up, and by then it's too late. Okay, thank you. Sorry, I didn't mean to take all you guys' time.
No, this meeting is for you folks of Olowalu, so you take as much time as you want. I'm going to have Shane respond.
Yeah, thank you. Very good points. And I just want to address some of the things that the gentleman mentioned. So it's not just once a year. A lot of times people hear something and then it's maybe changed a little bit and then given to the public. So the monitoring doesn't only happen once a year. It starts off quarterly, as I mentioned earlier. If we get hits, it becomes a shorter monitoring period so that we nail down what's actually going on. It's not just once a year that we test. So I just wanted to clarify that. And then as far as the data that you're getting, you said you Googled it. If you could share that with us, your exact website and data collection, that would help us out too. EPA website. Okay. Yeah, I just wanted to clarify that too. And then as far as the monitoring goes, it doesn't stop there. That's just an initial with the leachate system. We'll get it before it even gets to the groundwater. If there's any hits, it starts, and again, we can talk start on that cutaway of the bowl. We're going to know as soon as it hits the first layer. It's not going to reach the water, and then we're going to say, oh, we found it in the ocean. So I just wanted to make that clear. We're going to catch it early, and there's mitigation measures for that if we get hits. Oh. Yeah, again, as I mentioned, these green circles here, those are the monitoring things in the upper layer. So if we get hits here, it has to percolate all the way down before we start getting hits in, as was mentioned in the BLRNR meeting. I think somebody brought up nearshore water monitoring, and we're all open to that. However, this will be our first trigger and let us know that something's happening. This other green dots is a secondary monitoring. So we're going to get hits here way sooner than it reaches groundwater and then the ocean. And there isn't just, we found out it's happening and we're not going to do nothing. There's a mitigation program in case we get hits in this either upper layer or the lower layer. So I just wanted to clarify. Thank you.
Thank you, Shane. Yes. Do you want to use the mic?
It's okay, I'll talk about it. A couple questions. One, where is the money coming from to fund this project?
So question one is, where is the money coming from to fund the proposed project? Mike Quijano, or okay, we'll bring up Mike Quijano, who's the division chief for environmental management.
Yeah, so the money for the temporary site will be federally funded, and then for the permanent site, we'll be actually charging tip fees like we normally do at our landfill, and that's what pays for the construction, the operation, and the actual monitoring for the future.
Do you have a second question? Yeah. So people that have debris removal coverage in their policies, which is most people, the insurance companies aren't paying out the debris removal unless and until it gets returned. But if people are opting into this program, why isn't the county or the state or whomever telling the insurance companies they need to pay out the debris removal to us to offset the price, and or make everyone pay the insurance companies pay the debris removal to their insureds, and then they can, when they get the bill from the county debris removal program in a couple of years, they have it to reimburse the county.
I'm not sure you can answer that one. Their question is about insurance companies paying for the debris removal, the cost upfront. Looks like Mayor might be able to help a little bit.
Yeah, so I'm going to try to answer, I think, some of that. So the way we're funding this land disposal, final disposal site is, first of all, by going with a subtitle C, it's going to take a few months longer to build, and it's going to cost at least an additional $10 million. FEMA is going to help us. They cannot pay for this, but they can reimburse the tipping fees. And the tipping fees is the charge that you charge every truckload to come and dispose a load there. So every time they do that, they get paid. FEMA reimburses the payment for that. And it works out to be the cost. The tipping fees are based on what the cost to build this is. So if it's a $20 million project, a $10 million project, we divide that, and they determine how much the tipping fees are going to be, and that's where the funds are going to come from. Your question was about dealing with your individual insurance company and the county?
So most people under their homeowner's policy, even business policies, they
Right.
have debris removal coverage.
Some do, yeah.
Most people. But the problem is, a lot of the insurance companies aren't going to pay out for debris removal until it's incurred,
Okay.
or until it's like paid for. But if people are opting into the program, then the insurance company is saving a lot of money, probably more than $20 million, if they're not paying out the claims for debris removal.
No, that's not true. What I told you earlier is you have to pay your insurance fee that you get from the insurance company to the county or the feds. So the insurance company pays it out for you.
Many insurance companies won't pay the debris removal limit. They won't give you your money for debris removal right now until and unless you incur it. You understand? So they're saving the money. Now, in a couple of years, when all these homeowners get the bill from the county saying this is what you owed for us removing you the debris, yes, they can go after the insurance. But
So you're not going to get a bill from the county unless you opt out. If you opt out of the right of entry, you'll have to do it on your own. You will use your insurance payment. You will incur the cost because you're going to have to pay that truck driver to take it off of your property for you. But if we're going to remove it, we're not sending you a bill. What your insurance company is going to do is they're not going to pay it to you. That if you have debris removal, you don't get to keep that in your policy, or excuse me, for you. You have to pay it to the person who actually cleaned it out for you. That's what the insurance companies told us they're going to do. But we're going to... Yeah. No, yeah. Yeah, we can come back and talk to you off that because that doesn't apply to most of the people here. Yeah.
Thank you, Mayor. And again, okay, we'll go to NT. I just want to make sure, we had wanted to talk, sorry, with Olowalu for Olowalu specific. We have the disaster recovery meeting every Wednesday weekly where our folks are there to help with specific questions like that for residents impacted by the fire. So let's get back to NT. I know you had a question.
Yes. But it's being built as one.
A final disposal site. Final. Here, we'll let Mayor. Mayor, can you repeat the question?
So a landfill is where you put rubbish. We're not putting rubbish in here. We're putting the ashes of people who may have died in the fire. So this is a final resting space for the people that were not recovered in the fire. I don't know if you want to call it a cemetery, but we're building it to the standards of a disposal site. It's being built to that standard, just so we can have that conversation. Because I think for a cemetery, you don't need to do all this. For a cemetery, you can just put it in the ground, but that's not what this is. Because there are toxic debris that is mixed. This is all mixed together. So, okay. Oh, if the people from Lahaina want to have, we're just responding to what the people of Lahaina asked us to do. And if they want to make this a final memorial, we're not at that point yet. We're right now just trying to get past this phase. No Opala. Okay. I think we tried to explain we didn't have a suitable site in the Lahaina area, but I understand. Ooh, okay. Well, we're happy to consider other options. Sure. I mean, that's fair. Okay, that's pretty clear. That's pretty clear. Somebody had a question? Yes, ma'am. Sure. Corey, you want that?
So the question was, is there a contingency plan if there's an accident on the highway or during transport and there was a release of the material? Is that? Yes. So our contractors will be responsible for hauling from Lahaina to the final, either the temporary debris site or the final disposal site. And if there is a release, they will clean it up to the same standard that we would have to from Lahaina. So just so you're aware, after the ash is removed, we're going to take 6 inches of soil from all the properties that might have been impacted by that ash. Then we're going to sample, and we have to meet the Department of Health standards. So if there was a release, we would still have to meet those same standards when we clean up that site. Yeah, so we'll have traffic control. We'll be working with Department of Transportation, and we'll get people moving. Yeah, we're not gonna hold that, and that's part of the reason not to go around the southern tip of the island, and go through the tunnel, because that's a pinch point. That's based on the completion of the final disposal site. So the temporary debris site will hold everything to a certain point, and once the final disposal site is ready, we'll go directly there, and then we'll move everything from the temporary debris site. That's what our contractor's telling us, is to construct the temporary debris site. It's not necessarily the size, it's different construction. They have a double liner, and it has to meet all those standards because it's the final site. So the question is, how many days to construct the final debris site?
I can take that one. So good question. The question is, how long would it take to finally construct the disposal site? It will take about 9 months to a year for the county's final disposition site. 9 months to a year.
Okay. To woman in the stripes, and then. Oh, okay. Go ahead. Okay. The question is, if there are private contractors removing debris and bringing it to a site, what standards and what regulations follow them?
So the answer is no. Unfortunately, if you opt out of the program, the Army Corps cannot handle that under the FEMA guidelines. So they'll have to either wait until the final disposal site is constructed for ash and debris to be hauled there, or potentially a temporary debris site.
Any other questions? Oh, okay, go ahead. And then I'll go to, Henano raised his hand first. So Henano first and then come back to you. Henano, do you want to use the mic, Henano? I have never known you to be quiet, so I'm going to give you the microphone.
10 minutes, that's all.
Only 10.
Good thing I'm short like Mahina. So you guys heard from my brother. That was Clyde. Clyde lives on my mom's property. That was where Chiefess Kalola lived. But you guys never know that. Okay? The narration from FEMA has always been, we work with the culture. Nobody came to see us. One person here that spoke, that's my auntie. And I'm going to give away her age. Okay? And then at the end is my other auntie. And then also here is my sister. So you guys failed in talking with us before you went to the board. Okay, we'll let that go. Okay? But you guys failed again today. And the only saving grace was Puel. Because Puel followed the proper cultural protocol. Okay? And he explained Olowalu. Well, I'm going to add to what Puel said. Olowalu means many hills. And why does it mean many hills? Anybody know? Because of the hill that you are about to use. Because of the cinder cones, this is why this place is called Olowalu. And what do the cinder cones represent? Pele's embryos. And now you have this idea that you're going to fill her now empty embryos with toxic waste. FEMA said, oh, we're listening to the culture. It's been saying that for 3 months. Every time you look at the newspaper, that's what it said. But you guys didn't. How come? Now, I want to make something really clear. I work for DLNR. I am the branch chief for the history and culture branch. Nobody came to see me. Nobody came to see me. So, I need to say that, and because I just said that, I'm speaking about a lineal descendant of ancestors that once lived in Olowalu and my family that is still living in Olowalu. Okay? I'm not speaking as a DLNR employee. In fact, I'm going to retire in 2 months. So, getting back, sorry, I got a little bit off track. So now we know what Olowalu means, but it means more than that within our family. My mom's name was Kamaile Olihau, meaning the Maile of Mount Lihau. I want my sisters to stand up. Or you can just, okay. My sister's name is Kapualehua Olihau Ulakalai Ohekili. And what it means is, when the red lehua blossoms up at Mount Lihau, its redness is reflected at Kepekili. How much more closer can we be to the land? That was all missed. Nobody came to talk to us about that. You know, and another thing that the county failed today is when you come into somebody else's ahupua'a, especially with Hawaiian people, you gotta go see them. You gotta go talk to them. You gotta introduce yourself to them, and they introduce themselves to you. You didn't do that. In the old days, if someone came from Ulupalakua and came to Olowalu, they would walk towards the house and go, hui, hui, au hea kapo'e o ke ihale. Where are the people of this house? And then they would come out, my, maloko mai, come inside. The first two questions asked, and this was happening even when I lived with my grandparents in Olowalu. Owai ko mau mākua, and no hea mai oe. Who are your ancestors and where are you from? You guys didn't do that. Okay? So, you know, again, we go back to FEMA saying we honor the culture and all that. But you guys didn't. Everybody here is speaking from their hearts because they live here. Yeah? We are descendants of people that were here since time immemorial. And nobody came to talk to us. Yeah. When nobody comes to talk to you and they do something, what is the first thing that you got in your mind? Suspicion. Mahina, when this Mahina was good enough to attempt to put this locomotive back on track. When the meeting was held in Honolulu at the board, a couple people spoke up, and I know my name was used there. A couple people said, did you guys go talk to Hinano? Mahina was good enough after getting off that plane and come straight to my office to apologize and to say, how do we put this back on track? And so she and I helped set this up. Of course, Tuesday was a bad day because the winds were bad. Oh, which makes me go a little bit off track again. There's an old Hawaiian saying, Ai e lua ma'ali I Olowalu, o kamakani ame the kavela. It says, there are two chiefs in Olowalu, the wind and the heat of the sun, not the human. So that threw me way off track. I forgot what I was going to say. Oh, yeah. So we had the big wind Tuesday. And so Mahina called me that afternoon and said, we got to make this work. And then the county came up with ideas about Zooming and all that. You know what my response was? You guys betrayed us. You guys betrayed us. And because you betrayed us, the only thing that can make it better is a face-to-face meeting. And that's why we're here today. With respect to the environmental, ecological issues, I'm not a professional. I'm a professional in Hawaiian studies. I don't know that kind of stuff. But based on my admitted limited knowledge with respect to that, I don't believe Olowalu is the only place. I believe Olowalu is the most convenient place, but I don't believe it's the only place. Thank you.
Mahalo. Hinano is correct. I did get off the plane, not just because his name was invoked in Oahu. The Board of Land and Natural Resources, when they put the project on the agenda, was being mindful of the county and our agencies saying with these the degree and the magnitude of the ash conditions and the threat to the washout and the high wind, it needed attention. And to our surprise, they actually went quick. Those of you who work for government, you know what I mean. They went fast, and they put us in the agenda, and we jumped on a plane, and there we were. The missing of the community work and the cultural appropriateness of coming to the area is on me. My job is to make sure that we do our engagement with the community appropriately, adequately, in the best way we can. So I'm not going to say that this disaster was beyond our means, because our means are part of what we're made of as well. So I mahalo Hinano, because he had his backpack on. He was going home that day. I was knocking on his door and buzzing the bell, and he was gracious enough to let me in so I can get scolded for 2 hours. But I appreciate that and I value that. So I don't want to discount that. Hinano? No. This is your second 10 minutes, yeah. We go way back.
I trust Mahina. She's right. We go way back. So I'm going to put all the burden on her to make this better. Anyway, I failed to mention, because this is an issue that was brought up, and I hope it's a true issue, and I hope that we're not leveraging the people that died to get what the county wants, because I kind of see that right now. But I could be wrong. Then prove me wrong. But so you know what I do at DLNR? I'm the guy who decides statewide what happens to human skeletal remains that are more than 50 years old. I'm the guy that makes the disposition that the remains remain in place or be relocated. And it has always been our policy that we start with the remains stay on that property. And if the remains cannot stay, the remains stay where they were found. If that is not possible, then the remains are moved, but stay on that property. And if that is not possible, the remains must remain in its ahupua. That has been our policy. I've been there for 17 years. And now I hear about people talking about remains, and I truly, truly understand the people of Lahaina. But that is no reason. That is a cultural affront to take the remains out of the ahupua. And I know people say this is not it, but perception is reality in our minds. Put the remains in a possible toxic dump. Everything that is being planned today is contrary to what I do on a daily basis, and that's from a cultural point of view. Thank you. I promise not to come up.
Mahalo. One of our experiences is, as government and members of our island and community, is that we don't always have the luxury of leaning one way or the other way very clearly. So when we hear families say, you cannot take the ashes, knowing that there are remains in them, or the crematoriums from the I think several churches that burned down, and mix them in Central Maui landfill with Opala, that is unacceptable. So we started to look at what can be, what are the possibilities, and this is where we landed today at this proposal as a site to take care of the remains, staying on West Side. I don't know, we have the specifics of what other sites, but we absolutely, today is about hearing you and being able to help answer. This will not be the last time we're coming before you. Matter of fact, a lot of people outside of Olowalu have been asking for information and asking for us to come to them, but we have resisted and said no until we can come to Olowalu. And we were very, very adamant about that. So yes, I appreciate that. And I will tell you that one of the things Hinano told me when I said, I don't know what to do about Tuesday's meeting. We don't like wait. We like come. The weather's bad. Fires, fire risk, all that with red flag. And he said, we're grown-ups. We can wait a few more days. And that reminded me how we have to just have these conversations so that we don't just, kind of make up the move the meeting here there by ourselves or try to do a Zoom and then no more internet. So that would have been a disaster all by itself. I see a couple more questions. And again, I want to ask for Olowalu project related ones. So I see Foster, you wanna use the mic, come up, and then we'll go to you, ma'am, right up here. Okay, come.
Mahalo Mahina. Hi, my name is Foster Ampong. I grew up in Lahaina. I'm going to reiterate a lot of what Hinano has already shared and explained with you. But let me start by saying first that my wife and I do not live in Olowalu, but we are lineal descendants of our ancestors that do come from Olowalu. And Hinano really touched on a very important facet of our culture as Kanakas. I'm Hawaiian because my mother is full-blooded Hawaiian. But I'm also Filipino and Puerto Rican because of my dad. So Hinano, as he stated, is the branch chief for history and culture with state historic preservations. I'm a recognized lineal and cultural descendant to human skeletal remains, and under the HAR 13335, which is a process that any one of us in our community can participate in proving with documentation, and not just oral history, or not just by someone coming off of the street claiming to be lineal descendants of an ahupua'a or an ancestor from an ahupua'a. I've gone through this process several times. And what I'm getting towards is that one of the most fundamental tenets in our culture is do not maho'oi. You go to, and let me use this analogy. Sometimes I get scolded for it, but I grew up in Lahaina. Lahaina is known for having the best mangoes in the world, okay? So I grew up on Fleming Road. The house that I grew up with, my uncle's house, who is still alive, he's 95. He's my dad's younger brother. They lost their house. That whole house and most of the houses on the street got burnt down. We had mango trees, and fortunately, several of them are still survived this wildfire. And there was this one favorite mango tree that had all the mango hanging close to the side of the road. And so people that grew up on the same street as I did knew that, oh, okay, they get ripe mango. It was customary, and when you think about it, fundamentally, it was the right thing to do. You go up, you knock on the door, hui, auntie, is it okay if I take 1 or 2 mangoes? You go and you go ask. You don't just go pick the mango, and go eat them. That's called maho'oi. So that's my favorite analogy about how we should be, all of us, not just Hawaiians, but everybody in the community, especially now. If you want to, go to somebody else's house, and like in this case, you want to come to Olowalu and bring the remains and the debris to Olowalu, you got to come and ask the people from Olowalu first. We can come up after the fact and say, oh, we're sorry, but this is why we do it. And I agree with Hinano. The decisions that were made leading up to today's meeting, basically appears to be made for the convenience and to hurry up with the process. I get all of that. But we're talking about tutus that may be in the ash, And so that moving forward, I hope that all of us, the county, the state, and I'm engaged right now with FEMA, EPA, and the Army Corps of Engineers, and hopefully with the county, because I'm asking for a face-to-face meeting about my family's kuleana in Mill Camp. I have ancestral burials, and there's a lot going on there that I need to make sure that these family burials, these family kuleana, the historical and cultural sites there are protected, not just physically protected in the debris removal, but the information, the history, my family genealogy is protected. And so please, whatever decision, whatever remedy that we come up with in this case with the ash and debris being brought to Olowalu, go talk to the people first. You know, mahalo hinano. That took courage. You know, for get up here in the front. Aunties, we know you guys gonna crank them. Mahalo. You know, Clyde, thank you. Mahalo. I hope. Okay, thanks.
Mahalo Nui Foster. When we went door to door in your community of Olowalu to try and let you know, get meeting, right? Because we made a decision, a deliberate one. We weren't going to do the full blown press release and everything exactly because of the Maha'oi. You know, if you don't have a connection to Olowalu, this discussion was going to be first for this community that we were behind on and owed. But I ended up at Auntie Talma's house and I was doing my hui. So I was kind of, alternating between hui and how's it, aloha, hello, any hello, so in every house. But Auntie's one, I saw the tree in front and the porch, so I knew it was one hui moment. And I have to tell you, Auntie came out and she told me right off, I don't like this, but I won't come. And I said, oh, absolutely. This is why we're here, because it cannot be one way. So I mahalo you for your honesty and even telling me off on the porch. I can get that. Hinano at his office. The Rodriguez ohana ya ka'ahui. You gotta aloha them. You had a question. Would you like to use this mic and save my hearing? Okay, good. Thank you.
Good morning. I'm grateful to you for coming here to host this. My name's Deb Frost. I'm from Laniopoko, and I'm very concerned about the severe toxicity of this ash. Words have been said about landfill site and then disposal site. I want to say the word Superfund site and have you talk to us about what differences would be made in the way that this ash would be proposed to be contained with a recognition of how toxic it is. The array of chemicals, the concentration of the chemicals, this has all been well reported. And I feel very concerned. 80 mil plastic is not confidence producing. I appreciated hearing that some of the methods here were determined by other burn zones. I wonder if any of those burn zones were so close to a reef, and in fact, the mother reef for West Maui. So can somebody please compare and contrast what methods would have been used in a Superfund site for this level of toxicity? Thank you.
So the question is a very large one about the Superfund sites. We do have a representative from EPA here. It may be, the magnitude of that question may be pretty large. Do you want to take a stab at it? Okay. Our folks are moving slowly in the shade, and we encourage you to grab your chair and do that. Our speakers are as well.
Sure. Hi. I'm Paul Amato. I'm a public information officer with EPA. That is a big question. I really would prefer to defer that to Superfund experts that we do have, of which I am not. So I'm not going to try and answer a question that I'm not qualified to speak to. So I'm happy to talk with you afterwards. Get your contact information. There you are. Get your contact information, and we can provide more information. We are also tabling every Wednesday night at the county meet at the Civic Center. So we have our folks there that can, we can maybe even develop a fact sheet around this information. But at this point, I really couldn't give you a qualified. It's just not my lane. So, but I would happily follow up with you to get that information from our Superfund experts. So. why Lahaina, the burn zone, has not been designated a Superfund site. Again, I'm not a Superfund assessor, but we actually have somebody in our office on Maui that is in our Superfund program that I would love to connect you with that could provide that information for you. So, but it's just not. It's just not my area of expertise. So, yeah.
Thank you. And a couple of things. Paul will be here later, so I want to make sure he gets your contact info. He mentioned all of our agencies have tables over at the Disaster Response Center, at the Civic Center, and we have our community meetings every Wednesday for anyone that wants to come to find out what's going on here. But that's a good question. We can also, you notice when you arrived, we gave you a sheet with some questions that we thought people would want to know more about. We can add that as well as we develop more and more information that we know that folks want. Is there, we've been at it for about 90 minutes, an hour and a half. We're not in a hurry, but I know we want to respect everyone's time. Yes, go ahead. Do you want to come? Yeah, yeah.
This is not to disrespect our kupuna and our ohana from Lahaina, but when I first heard this on the news that they were dumping toxic fuel, toxic ashes in Olowalu, it broke my heart. I grew up in Olowalu, and it's almost been 70 years. My grandma, during history time, she always had some kind of history to tell us. She always told me, never go to the Olowalu dump. And then she told me about how the mountains were created and how the area below the Olowalu dump was filled with caves, lava caves. Never ever go there, she told me, because there's a lot of mo'o. And because there's a lot of mo'o, sometimes they're very playful and they steal you. So I'm saying these lava tubes exist under the dump. So all of these ashes and opala that they're gonna dump in the dump area or above the dump area is not solid ground. And this may be something I shouldn't say about that area, but my grandma always told me, protect our land, and that's Olowalu. So I'm not saying I don't want people's ashes to be interned there. I'm just saying it's a desecration to Olowalu. Olowalu is such a sacred place. Most of the ali'is vacationed in Olowalu. Why? Because it's a safe place. When there's tsunamis, we have nothing to worry about. All these years, my mom never left her home because she knew she was protected by her kupuna. All our kupuna that have passed and left have not left their land. They're still here. So I feel that if you desecrate this land, we're going to have a lot of wind. We're going to have a lot of floods. And I'm not threatening anybody, but that's just the way it is in our culture. You stay in your own area. You stay in your own ahupua'a. And you respect other people in their ahupua'a. So that's all I have to say. Because it's very scary. This is a sacred place. And I'm just worried about what will happen in the near future. And they say temporary. What is temporary? Everything on this island always ends up permanent. And they say, okay, they're going to put liners, they're going to cover the trucks. Okay, so why don't you barge all these toxics out to the ocean, to the other side of the island? You know, maybe people want their own ashes buried in their own property. Have they been asked this? I don't think so. Maybe they want it moved elsewhere. Have they been asked? No. They're forced. You know, why do you have to put everything in one area? Why not spread it out? But not in Olowalu. Please, not in Olowalu. Thank you.
Mahalo. I still want to give you that time if there's any other questions or if you want to share mana'o with us. That's what we're here for. Sir, do you want to come up or you just have a question? Okay. Okay, so the question is why did we not, or did we, consider other cinder areas on the Mauka side? Is that what you're saying? Okay. Okay, so was that an option or did we look at that? Shane or who is here?
I can answer. Yeah, good question, Johnny. We actually answered that earlier. I don't know if you got it when Daniel talked about it. So I think you're referring to Crater Village area. We did look at that area. Volume-wise, it's a little smaller, but you know, it is a cinder pit. Proximity to residential is the critical one. It's a lot closer. Proximity to 3 schools, a lot closer. There's an active stream next to it. We did look at it though. It's one of the sites that we did consider. Yeah, good point. Again, we're tasked for public health and safety. So, as you can imagine, our job is to look at all the different options and try to pick the best one. We're not experts in every field. I don't claim to be. I never have. I'm not a culture expert. I heed to the culture experts. However, we got to do our due diligence. So, for example, if option A is next to this, not next to this, and option B is not, our jobs as non-experts in every field work with the data we have, and then we choose option A or option B. Again, there's no perfect option, really. We just got to do the best we can to choose what we feel with the data we have and the feedback we have from the community, what is the best option. Again, might not be best for everybody. We cannot be perfect in every decision we make. We just got to do the best we can. And before I want to end my portion, you know, I was always told, if you're going to question a decision made by somebody else, you should come with solutions. And I say this with utmost respect. I respect my kupunas. I respect my neighbors. We've done a lot of talking as the government agencies. I mean, we talk. We criticize about talking too much. So I just want to open this up to any of you. We have a lot of smart people in the community. You know, a lot of educated people, a lot of experts we aren't. But I kind of want to open it up to solutions that you folks have. I mean, I've been hearing why this option is not going to work. But if any of you have thoughts about a better solution, I would definitely want to hear it. And again, this is not a challenge. This is opening up to maybe something we haven't heard. If you folks know of a spot in West Maui that is better, I really want to know about it. We want to look into it. We looked at Crater Village. We looked at other spots. We looked at spots in West Maui for years, actually, to be honest with you. As one person from our team said, we know almost every depression in the ground, every stream on West Maui. So, yeah, I kind of hear from the community. If you guys get any solutions to help us out, help out the people of Lahaina, get that debris off the land. Yeah, anybody got solution? You can
come and the mic. We'll hear from you.
Aloha. And thank you, Shane, too. I know you're Olowalu resident as well. So, I mean, it's clear that the people of Olowalu don't want this. Nobody wants toxic waste. But given the issue about the human remains, have the Lahaina people that have human remains in the toxic waste mixed in, have they been asked where their preference is? Because if Lahaina site was already ruled out, as that's not going to happen, were the Lahaina people consulted? And I'm not asking you directly, Shane, but just in general, like, that's my question. Because that's the proposed site. and I know, sorry, I'm gonna go past that one question, but Olowalu does always feel like the dumping ground. It really does. And we are a super small community, and it feels like because of that, it's easy to just dump stuff on us and not consult us before stuff happens. Is it, and I, you know, like, would it be an option to take it to Wailea, Kapalua? And I'm saying that in all sincerity because we're a working class community in Olowalu. We're small. But is it because we have a small voice that we're disregarded?
Mahalo for that. You see some of us taking notes. This is not going to be the last time we talk. We are going to be every Wednesday participating in there. We're going to have open houses. We would like to come back to you. We have some unanswered things. Want to come back with a little more specifics, a little bit, we have some questions that we need to come back with. So if it's okay with you, we're going to close for today. Well, we're not going anywhere, but somebody over there waving it like the chair's back. But we're going to stay here. You can ask our folks questions. I'm going to have Mayor say whatever he wants at the end. Mhm. So question or comment is, how soon can we get back, and are we actually looking at other places in Lahaina? Is that how soon will we be out in the public? Oh, got it. If you signed up and we can read your email, we should have that in a couple of days. I'm looking at our tech team here. So normally we do live. We absolutely do. We did not know, out of respect for Olowalu, we thought we should have the conversation first before we let everybody. We're happy to share it out. No, we're not like keeping it to ourselves. So we just aren't Facebooking it live or making it like some big, major event. That was our decision. Deliberately made that way so that you can have the link, you can share it, you can view it, and then we will share it out. Okay. Can. Oh, okay. Can. Yeah. It wasn't typed out, but yeah. Okay. Can. I think we have an excellent tech team. Yes. Okay. Yeah. Like the other week. Got it. Okay. Ikino. Good point. Okay. Okay. I made the deliberate decision not to do social media live. I felt like I didn't want people to think we were showboating. Like, oh, look, we're meeting with the Olowalu community. Come watch us live on Facebook. No, I think we can explain it well. I really do. I feel sincerely that our intention was to have this first. And we still have the recording. If we didn't record it to share, then yes, I would say, that's a... Yeah, we can. We'll do it sooner than later. Okay, great. Mahalo. I think questions on timeline are kind of general right now. Those are one of the things in my mind when we keep coming back, we can tighten up much better. Because right now, we're just talking about, some general stuff. But yes, advisories, public notice. From this point on, it can be a little wider and open. So definitely, yes. Okay. We do want to close. Auntie, yes. No, nothing has started. Yeah. The question is, are we dumping anything at the pali? Oh. We're not doing anything at Olowalu right now. By the pali. Oh, Ukumehame. It's an holding area for EPA as part of the phase 1 of the disaster. But that's just a holding area. Okay. Okay. That because it's temporary, it'll be removed. It's just a holding area. Oh, Olowalu. Okay. Thank you, Auntie. Okay. I see a lot of people in the sun, so I'm going to just let the meeting close on Auntie's words, asking for respect for Olowalu. And I'm going to let Mayor close today, and then we are going to be hanging around.
I wanted to address Hinano and your concerns. I appreciate Mahina falling on her sword today and saying this was all her doing, but it wasn't. I know well enough myself, and I think you know how to greet when we come to some place. Today's meeting was to get information to you folks, and I would have been happy to give my moku auhau to everybody here if I thought that would have made the difference for the purpose of today's meeting. But if I offended you in any way, I ask for your forgiveness. That was not the intent. In fact, I asked Auntie Thelma to open this meeting with a pule, and she declined. So I offered the senior person in your place the honor of opening up our meeting. And when she declined, Pueo was nice enough to step in and give a very nice, better than I had imagined, hope that we could try to do something where we bring our community together. This is not an ideal situation for anybody. This was not a convenient decision. Obviously, I may or may not be able to convince you of that. This was an urgent decision. And I don't know if urgent and convenient means the same thing. We were so concerned about the winds and the rains coming back to Lahaina and washing all that ash and debris into the ocean and the reefs and our drinking water and our wastewater system. And that wasn't because we favor Lahaina people over Olowalu people. It's because we favor all people. We're trying to help everybody on the island of Maui. And everybody's doing what I would call shared sacrifice right now. It's not falling on any one person or any one group or any one organization. This requires everybody coming together to help. Easy to say, hey, that's your guys' problem. You guys clean that. You guys take care of it. But if the reef go bad over there, it's going to go bad over here too. If that stuff gets in where it's not supposed to be, it's going to affect everybody sitting here right now. That was the urgency. The reason we didn't come to Olowalu sooner is we didn't own that land. We don't own that land. That's owned by the state. We had to make a request, and we went before the Board of Land and Natural Resources to ask for an emergency order from the governor and EO to allow us to have that piece. If he'd have said no, and if the board voted no, we wouldn't even be having this discussion right now. Because we cannot do something on somebody else's land. That's not our land. But for all the good reasons that were presented at that board, the board voted in favor. Now, the only thing they voted for was to give it to us. And now we're coming to the community to say this is what we want it for. This is what we hope to use it for. Now, if we've picked the wrong place, the wrong time, then we need to know that. But I have to tell you, when you talk to the engineers, and this is not an engineering question, I can tell this is a very personal decision. As it is for anyone who would have to make this decision. You know, one of the problems with government that we get told over and over again is we're too slow and it takes too long to get a decision and we can never get it right. The two criticisms of government: you never get it right and you take too long. In this one, It sounds like we moved too fast, and we still got it wrong. You cannot win. If we leave it out there, we harm people. If we take it and put it someplace, we harm people. If we take it up and mix it, we disrespect people. If we mix it with actual home trash. So those are the decisions that we get to sit around the table and decide on. Who are we going to upset today? When we make our decision, which group is going to be mad at us? Because that's what you get every day. You don't get a group of who's going to be happy. You get to be asked who you going to make mad. But it was never intended to be disrespectful, is what I want to clear up with you. I know you taught my parents, both of them at MCC. So I know you know who I am. And you know who I'm not. I'm not here to grandstand. I'm not here to throw my weight around. I'm nothing special, you guys. I'm just one of the regular, simple Maui boys. That's all. But I'm big kuleana. And I'm asking for everybody's help. A lot of mistrust, a lot of misinformation. So we came to you folks, ha'a, to try to give you this time, one-on-one time. Hey, give us licking, bust us up, tell us all the things we're doing wrong, and then at the end, help us figure out how to do it right. Because if we leave here with not having that, then we haven't done anything except shared some time together, which is truly a waste. We don't have all the answers, you guys. We get all the problems. So again, I apologize if our team did anything to offend the people of Olowalu. And that responsibility is not Mahina's, that's mine. But our whole goal is to try to find something that we can all work with. When that site was proposed, the engineers saw it as a perfect site, not factoring in family history, not factoring in how special this place is to those. You know, you've educated us today. You've educated us in a good way. I don't take offense to anything anybody said today. You could almost say I'm ma'a already because that's how it is, especially in the last few months. But please don't take it out on any of these people or anybody else. They're just doing their jobs. It's a hard job because we're responsible for so much more than Olowalu or Lahaina or Kula. We're just trying to find that sweet spot that we can try to make it work for everybody. That was an ideal location because a lot of that cinder was going to be used also to help with Lahaina and what they need when they get rid of the 6 inch of soil and what they're going to need back there. So there's a lot more to it. We're not getting into all the details of all the engineering pieces of this. But I wanted to leave everybody with that. Again, apologies if we didn't open this correctly or as you would have expected. But maybe we can close it correctly. Puel, I can ask you for one. Te mihi, te mihi, te mihi. Please. Are you guys okay? Are you on pule, closing pule? Yes, please. Yes, you may.
Have you thought about going upwards instead of downwards?
Well, you know, interesting you say that because there have been many. Oh, not move the ash anywhere? No, where would we put the ash? I'm sorry, I'm missing one point. Oh, okay, yes. Oh, no, there's lots of ideas about memorials. Planting trees down Front Street. Yeah. I'm not sure if that's environmentally safe for us to do it that way, but I can't tell you. I don't know. But I like your suggestion. Thank you. You guys got him, right? Shane said he got him. Because he's going to take all that back to the team. Brother, can I ask you? Thank you, everybody. We'll end with Pule, and then we'll talk story.
Mahalo e ko Olowalu for your patience, and Mayor and the team, and Mahina for putting this together. One of my teachers was Auntie Diane Amadeo. Some of you probably knew her. And she gave us a lesson about aloha, which was put yourself in the other person's position. If you look in the dictionary, it even says sympathy. So if somebody's mad at me, I have to think, it's not a challenge to me. I have to think, what is their position on this? And so thank you, Mayor, and you folks for listening with Aloha, and I hope that Aloha goes far enough to heal this, what's taking place now. And my Aloha nui goes to you folks. I'm trying to think, what would it be like if this was in my backyard too? But I really appreciate this opportunity. So I open with a traditional pule, and I'll close with a pule that's become traditional. And it's e kolu mea nui, because it says o ke aloha nui, or ke aloha ka mea nui o ia e. If you know the mele, please, of course, sing along. E kolu mea nui ma ka honua, o ka mana o I, o ka mana o lana, a me ke aloha kai o ia e. Po mai ka ina mea pau, po mai ka ina mea pau, amen. Have a blessed weekend. Mahalo. Aloha.